Thanks for joining us this morning as we review the movie Nefarious, otherwise known as...
Speak of the devil. My brain not working. Who needs that? I was up way too late watching this movie last night, and oh boy.
Well, at least you did, and that's a good thing. And
I'm paying for it. I agree. That was good.
Okay. Woo! All right. Well, we'll get it.
A spoiler there, but wow, it was a good one.
I agree. And we'll get into the actual review here in a minute. But first, I'd like to go over a little bit of the synopsis. What was this movie all about? Well, on the day of his scheduled execution, convicted serial killer gets a psychiatric evaluation during which he claims to be a demon, and further claims that before their time is over, the psychiatrist will commit 3 murders on his own. The 2023 movie Nefarious is the story of a fictional serial killer named Edward Wayne Brady, who faces imminent execution. In a state prison, psychiatrist Dr. James Martin is tasked with evaluating Brady's sanity to see if he is sane and therefore able to be executed. James, the psychiatrist, is thrust into a moral and a spiritual quandary when Edward claims that he is possessed by a demon named Nefarious. As James grapples with the skepticism, Edward's eerie predictions force him to suspect that Edward may not be faking insanity to get out of execution, but may actually be demonically possessed. The story delves into the internal struggles of Dr. Martin as he confronts the supernatural, questioning his own beliefs and navigating a complex terrain of justice, mercy, and the transformative potential of divine intervention. Nefarious is a thought-provoking movie that either challenges the viewer's belief in forces of darkness or reinforces them.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. What would be your rating from 1 to 10?
1 to 10, I would definitely put a caveat on this. Be ready. This is definitely dark. I would say as far as darkness level with to the level of being equal with screw tape letters. In a lot of ways, it's going to get dark. And it deals with demonic forces quite a bit. So be aware of that. But other than that, I think it's really well done. I thought they did a fantastic job. So I'd give it a 10.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for that number. I would also give it, I had no idea what you were going to rate it. I also am giving it a 10. Now, this is last year's movie. We're reviewing it now because it's a bit of a sleeper. I didn't even know. I heard some things about it. Some people are talking about it. I'll watch it whenever. I'm really glad that I did give it a 10. And this is based on with the other movies that we looked at last year. So we had the top movies that we looked at last year were Godzilla -1, right? Yep. And The Shift.
The Shift, yeah.
Would you say that this ranks higher than those two?
Oh, definitely higher than Godzilla, hands down.
Yeah.
So this would have been my top movie pick for last year.
Yeah, I would say so too, because I think Shift, we did not give it, neither of us gave it a 10. So this would be,
this would be better.
higher than that.
But I do still say that the message in The Shift's ridiculously good as well. I'd say all 3 movies are really...
all 3 movies are worth watching.
Yeah, I put all 3 movies on my shelf.
Okay. So I would say that this movie is like a cross between C.S. Lewis's Paralandra, if you've seen that, and Batman's interrogation of the Joker in The Dark Knight.
You've seen Paralandra?
No. Well, read the book.
There's no movie.
There's no movie. No. If there was, I'd like to know.
Those of you that are a little like, oh shoot, I missed something.
But the interrogation of the Joker without the violence. So actually, there was some violence in there. So maybe it was just the same thing, being that prison scene. Now, the writers and directors said that this movie was a cross between C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters, like you just mentioned, and Silence of the Lamb. lamps.
I can see that.
Yeah. Now, note that, like you said, it is dark in that it does have an R rating for some disturbing violence. And I'm not to say anything is spoiler related to it, but yeah, it gets pretty brutal in it, especially one scene. I don't know if you want to fast forward or whatever, but hey, just letting you know it's there. It's classified as a horror.
That's why I wouldn't have seen this, because I don't normally like
No.
horrors. I would not classify it necessarily as a horror. This is definitely, I think it would be classified as more of a psychological horror sort of thing, but it's not what I would think of whenever you talk about horror. I'm thinking gore. I'm thinking, Chainsaw Massacre,
jumping out the edge of my seat, a lot of jump scare
stuff. There's not.
No.
It's dark in the demonic sense, but there's a lot of, it's deep. It is really, really deep.
And as far as the demonic goes, it's couched within Christian theology. And program note, I'm going to change what I originally had planned for the next live stream, which is Thursday in 2 days. Instead of continuing our series on the reliability of the Bible, we're going to look at the authorship and the date of authorship of the New Testament books. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, who wrote it, when did they write it, and things like that, because we're going to take a look at reliability, because there's some questions about who wrote it. You don't really know, and you don't know when, and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to try to nail some of those things down. I'm going to move that to next Thursday. And instead, continuing on this topic, because this movie was so deep and impactful, that we're going to talk about demon possession, demons, and angels and spiritual warfare come next Thursday. And I was going to say this for later, but I'll put this up right now. Cosmic warfare. That is coming up next Thursday. So I'll put our buddies back up here. And these are the two guys we're going to talk about. Now, for this movie, if you don't believe in God or demon possession, you just may laugh at this movie. And you might even look at it like some critics did and say, that wasn't a horror movie. I'm dissatisfied because I was looking for some jump scares, or I was looking for some gore or something like that. If you're looking for that, you're not going to be satisfied. But if you're sensitive, super, super sensitive to this type of material, don't watch it. But please note that even for some sensitive people, that some people that have watched it and came out saying it was still good.
My wife's not normally one for horror in any way, shape, or form. She really absolutely hates horror, but she did say that it was good all in all. She definitely did want to skip some scenes. It was a bit more graphic.
So she just thought it was just so-so, or what did she?
No, she thought it was great.
Okay.
Which is extremely weird, because she, again, no horror film does she like.
No horror. This one. No mortal man am I. No mortal film does she like. So a little bit behind the scenes here. This film was inspired by the book, and they do mention this book in here. So we're going to do a spoiler-free section in the spoiler section like normal. But we're going to hit the Christian themes, but there's a couple of things we want to look at first before we get into it. And one is, this film was inspired by the book, The Nefarious Plot, which is actually mentioned in the book, or in the movie itself. The Nefarious Plot was a New York Times best-selling book written by Steve Dents. Chuck Konzelman, I want to get his name correct, Konzelman and Cary Solomon wrote the screenplay for the movie, produced it, and directed it. Now, Chuck and Cary also worked on the pro-life film Unplanned, as well as Do You Believe in God's Not Dead? So these guys have tackled this stuff before, but I'll let you know, unlike those movies, which are overtly Christian, this is one that you can take an unbeliever to and sit down and watch without them feeling like they're being preached to. I didn't feel like that was in there. Now, you did have some critics that really came out and ragged on that, and we'll get to that in a bit. Some questions and answers. Is Nefarious a Christian movie? Yes. Is Nefarious in theaters now? No. Is it on Netflix? No, but it's on Amazon. Is Nefarious based on a true story? No. Is Nefarious scary?
It counts on where you're at. I mean, there are
Could be.
the topics it covers. I mean, it can be scary. I mean, it can be scary just like screw tape letters can be scary when you look at them and be like, man, I see that in my life. I see that part. I see that, you know, the acting of the enemy in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that, you can easily see that in your life.
Well, let's just say I have a friend who, when we're driving with her, she has, you know, those little handles that are on cars. If you're in the passenger seat,
Yes.
the little thing. She calls that the Jesus bar.
Yes.
She grabs onto
Because that's what it is.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry, not to take God's name in vain or anything, but she'll grab that. You need a Jesus bar for this movie. Okay. You need to be able to grab onto him for any of these things, because you need to be rock solid. There are some scenes in here where it shows people who are not grounded in God that are then vulnerable. And so in that way, it can be kind of scary, because you're thinking, can this stuff be real? And yeah, it's scary in a good way like that. I'm going to check the comments here because
Certain Sandy's talking a lot.
yes. Okay, we got threat insanity, and also okay, so I think
We got Sam, we got threat.
okay, so it says Nefarious
Yes.
stole
my hair. hair.
No, that happened before you watched the movie.
No,
It scared the hair out of you.
Scared the hair out of me.
Yes.
I pulled my hair out.
Yes. How much have you missed? Everything, Sam. We're wrapping it up.
No, we're not. We're just getting started.
I just tried.
The party's just started.
The party
now that
just
you're
started.
here.
Now that he's here, yes.
We can get going.
And okay, wait. Okay, so she's just bringing you up to speed, and just some. I'm just going right through here on these comments because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Steve, and I'm not sure if you pronounce his name, Dance or Dance, does a political show on the Blaze. Yes, I had heard about that. He does Christian themes on Thursdays. An interesting guy. Stopped watching not because he's not good, but because I'm done with politics lately. Yeah, take a deep breath and get a man. It can be overwhelming and negative and mind draining. So I want to show there's a cast of characters, and I did not have that up, so I'm going to present share. Sorry about this, guys. I'm going to share something. I thought I had this up already, so. Okay, and get rid of that other one so we can see it. All right, so here we have a cast of characters that are in there. Nefarious is played by Sean Patrick Flanery. Dr. James Martin, the psychiatrist that comes in and talks to him. Jordan Belfi. And the other, those are the main characters in this movie. Everybody else is sort of, you have the warden. He shows up the second most. And there's a couple other characters that come in just for a little bit here and there, but that's about it. It is just these two. Now, you might look at this and say, is this even, how can you have a movie? It's got to be pretty boring with two guys just talking to each other.
Oh,
right?
no, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it greatly.
Okay.
But yeah, it is just, I mean, this is a very, as far as like animation, graphics, and CGI, this is almost nothing here. It is very basic. It's just two guys there talking.
It's the dialogue that is so good and so well acted, especially by Sean Patrick Flanery, who plays Nefarious.
Top notch, really is.
I mean, it was amazing. I watched an interview with these guys, and it's in the interview is in the description, by the way. And we also have a really good interview with the producers and writers. It's an amazing interview. But they interviewed him, and they said that they really didn't rehearse it much. It was just boom right off the bat that these two got into it, and you're sitting there, and the expressions and the dialogue and everything, you're waiting for the next thing to be said. And it's kind of refreshing having something well written like this. this and not depending on a CGI. I like good CGI, right? But not depending on that. It's not a part of it at all.
This movie really is in its own ballpark in that regard. There really isn't anything to compare it to. Definitely recently.
No, maybe some of the dialogue in Silence of the Lambs, which I really haven't seen. I've only seen clips for, so I can only barely compare it to it. But a bit of trivia with this: the budget for this film was only $2 million, and it made $5.5 million in the theater, which was fantastic given the pushback.
Oh yeah,
that they got from Hollywood. Pulling the movie from the theater. Pulling it from streaming services, it's hard to get this movie to be able to see it actually. They changed the release. Sony changed the release date of The Exorcist to be at the same time as this movie was, the same weekend. And they also released 4 other movies, or 5, I forget which, on that same weekend. So basically pushing the movie Nefarious out. And so you have fewer and fewer seats that the movie people can see the movie by. So they had all this going on, and according to another piece of trivia, according to the producers, Nefarious had the widest range of I'm going to put this up. This is showing. Oh, where is it? I do have it, don't I?
I cannot answer that question.
No, I don't. Okay, Rotten Tomatoes. I did have a screenshot of Rotten Tomatoes. And it showed the widest range in history between the critic score being negative and the audience score being positive. So the widest range in history. So the critics absolutely hated it. The audience score was good. And by the way, Rotten Tomatoes is owned by Universal, so they're going to.
Not really surprising them.
No, they're going to want to continue to put out the same type of material they're putting out, not wanting to see alternative material. So, before we get into the deeper into rating spoilers and the spoiler-free rating, I want to do Christian themes. This movie is filled with Christian themes, but mostly spoken by the mouth of a demon. So take that for what it's worth. It's sort of like reconstructing Christian world's view from the letters of Screwtape to his nephew Wormwood in the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. And as such, the Christian themes are vastly different from any of the themes that we've covered in any of the other movies.
Oh, yeah.
So you would usually have Christian themes like courage or love or other things like that. You don't see those typical themes in this movie. We have the nature of evil. Dr. James Martin grapples with the reality of demonic possession. He's trying to figure out, is this guy sane? What's going on here? And he's staring into the face of evil personified. So it's talking about the nature of evil, number one. Number two, the power and faith of God. So you see that those who are protected have their faith in God, and those who are not protected don't have their faith in God. So it gives, and you've got evil, and then you've got good here, both personified. Human nature and sin, the way that sin has opened us up to the forces of darkness. And I'm not going to go too much into it now because we're going to talk about this at length on Thursday, but you got personal spiritual warfare, individuals fighting against demonic forces, as well as the overall universal spiritual warfare over human history. And Nefarious brings this up as some things. It's talking about this battle between God and demons, God and the devil, the point of Jesus in history and what that did to the enemy and everything. So angelology and demonology, number 6. Number 7, victory, our ultimate victory in history over demonic forces. Do you have any other themes that you saw in there that you wanted to pull out?
There are just so many, guys. This is very similar. Again, I keep going back to C.S. Lewis's writings. If you like C.S. Lewis's writings at all. I saw a lot of Paralandra in here. I saw a lot of Out of the Silent Planet in here. I saw a lot of That Hideous Strength. I saw hints of those books, at least what was talked about. Definitely Paralandra and That Hideous Strength. In fact, there were a couple scenes in there that I was like, man, that seems like almost straight out of something C.S. Lewis would have wrote.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, you want to see this one. If you like the screw tape letters and seeing how the enemy works and the ins and outs, that you will love this.
Now, it's good to know what the enemy has planned so that you can counter against it. But we're also to focus not on forces of darkness, to focus on things in heaven and keep our mind on those instead. We mentioned the screw tape letter so much. I have again changed the schedule a little bit because this is so impactful. Next Tuesday, I had something else planned, but we're actually going to be doing a book review and reviewing C.S. Lewis's screw tape letters. We're going to get deeper into that. And so I have a quote from the screw tape letters here. Yes, and I'm going to put it up on the screen because this is important. He says, I have great hopes that we shall learn in due time. This is screw tape talking to Wormwood. So this is a demon speaking. I have great hopes that we shall learn in due time how to emotionalize and mythologize human science such that to such an extent that which is in effect belief in us as demons, though not under that name, will creep in while the human mind remains closed in belief of the enemy, God. In other words, believing in demons while not believing in God. It will creep into the human mind and remains closed to God. The life force, the worship of sex, and some aspects of psychoanalysis may here prove useful. If once we have produced our perfect work, the materialist magician, then man not using but inevitably worshiping what he vaguely calls forces while denying the existence of spirit, then the end of the war is within sight. So this has to do with the whole thing about the enemy playing it down. Why don't we see demon possession that much? Why does it seem to be very low key or non-existent in Western society? We'll dig into this more on Thursday.
Oh yeah,
but here's
a reason behind it.
There is a reason behind it, and that was one reason from C.S. Lewis, and it's very much so. Basically, if you can keep your opponent from knowing that you're there, you can do maneuvers and tactics that he doesn't even know what hit him, from what side or from what angle. And this is a quote from Sun Tzu: be subtle that you are invisible. Be so subtle that you are invisible. Be so mysterious that you are intangible. Be so subtle that you are invisible. Be so mysterious that you are intangible. Sorry, for whatever reason that was repeated. Then you will control your rival's fate. So if your enemy doesn't know where you are, it doesn't know what power you possess or don't possess, you can trick your enemy into doing your bidding and doing your will. So I'm going to check chats, and we're going to dump into our spoiler-free rating. Adam says, off topic, do you guys think anybody could do cinematic justice to the space trilogy? Definitely not Disney.
Not Disney. I think if Angel Studios tried to tackle it, I think they might do decent on it. They've been pretty good on keeping to source material and
but you'd have to have a higher budget.
You'd have to have a higher budget.
Yeah.
The guys that did Nefarious again could do it, but again, higher budget needed. And I don't know if Angel Studios did it, they'd have to do much better at promoting it and getting it out there.
Even these guys, the promotion, they were very limited on promotion. They were talking about Sony had $100 million just put in promotion for their movie. I think they were talking about The Exorcist, where these guys only had $200 million budget total for the entire thing to work with.
Yeah.
So very limited. Still pulled it off amazingly. So to answer your question, I don't know.
I'd be concerned leading up to it.
Yeah,
seeing it.
I think I would love to see it, especially some of the stuff that's done in Paralandra. But you know, here's a point for books, guys, and this is I guess a plug from an author. You can do so much with a book. Those pictures and paintings you have in your mind when you're reading a book, your own imagination is better than the best CGI out there. So go for it. But still, I'd love to see this. Not so much that hideous strength. That would be tough.
That would be tough. It would have to be someone who is extremely passionate about the books as they currently are. Because if they really love the books as they are, as C.S. Lewis wrote them, then I think they will do it justice in the end.
Yeah, I think the screenplay for That Hideous Strength would have to be different because it was met with the NICE and everything that was going on in there. I think you'd have to change it for today's society. Okay, so sorry, that just shifted on me. Matthias last said, and I'm going to put my glasses on because I can't read this. All right, old man time. Wouldn't possession be impossible since we have the Holy Spirit inside us? Yes. But we're gonna cover that on Thursday.
Well, just real quick in the show, the main character that is dealing with Nefarious, so the psychiatrist, is not Christian.
And that's not a spoiler.
That's stated at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's spoiler. That's probably one of the more scarier parts of the movie.
He's vulnerable.
He's extremely vulnerable.
And there's a priest that comes in. We'll talk about that during the spoiler section, which is actually kind of enlightening and interesting. And Maddie said, Adam, I don't think so. Maybe That Hideous Strength, but the first two would be way too expensive and hard to get the right look and feel. So that's basically what we were saying here. But I don't know. If
they
you
could
had
do it. I mean, they did good.
Lord of the Rings, they pulled that off, and I would have been able to say. Were you going to say that?
Yeah, I was going to go to Lord of the Rings with that one because again, you had people who were passionate about it, who really loved the material.
Yeah.
And wanted to bring it to life. If you had people that wanted to do that and even didn't so much care about making money, but wanted to see this message out there, okay, I believe they could do good by it.
Yeah.
But those are rare and far between.
Apparently, Netflix is doing Chronicles of Narnia. I don't trust them.
No.
They'll make Aslan gay or something. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just like, I'm sorry to say, I love Star Trek Next Generation. I have not watched Picard. Being a sci-fi buff that I am, I would have, I don't want to see them ruin it. Although I heard the third season, they really started to pull it out and it started to be good. Maybe I'll check that out. But
no, all I hear with that is Rings of Power.
Oh yeah.
That's definitely all I hear. And I'm like, nope, I'm good.
Did not like Rings of Power. There you go. Same thing.
Like, nope, I'm good.
That's proof of the pudding right there. And some of the other stuff they said, it's even worth staying away from streaming services altogether because of some of the garbage that they put out there. Thomas Hall said, my imagination is why I refused to watch Lord of the Rings movie for many years. I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, you know what? Other than, and we did the whole review on Lord of the Rings series, other than, like we mentioned in the review, characters like Tom Bombadil and the Barrow-wights, and the only thing I wish they did put in was the ending showing how the Shire was overrun by Saruman. But other than that, I thought, wow, this is, yeah.
All things considered, because of the restrictions of turning something from a book into a movie, time restrictions as far as needing to cut down a book, because you can go much longer in a book than you can in a movie, and all the ins and outs of that, and making sure the pacing is right for a movie, because again, that's different than a book. I thought they did a great job.
Okay, I was going to shut down, move away from the comments, but they keep pouring in, so I'm going to.
You guys
put them up.
interacting with those?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, here we go. Sorry. Oh, it just shifted again. I can't click on it. It's like a game, and we already did that one. And Mattis last. Did you think you'd ever play? Did you think you'll ever play any video games? Dante's Inferno would be an interesting one to see you play. It's a game about hell's depiction of the divine comedy.
Now, it's very interesting. I have watched Dante's Inferno. At least the anime.
He's talking about the game.
I know the game, though. I've never played the game itself. But Dante's Inferno is interesting on many levels as far as just from looking at what they believed hell was of the time period. It's very interesting. There's a lot of issues with it.
I don't think we'll ever. So we're going to do books. We're going to do movies. A lot of theology in it. And the reason why we do the theology is because that's the basis by which we pull out these themes. And so the point of this channel is to learn how to view entertainment biblically. And I guess this would kind of fall under that as being games. And it's not like I haven't played games before, video games. The first video game, okay, I'm going to show you my age. The first video game I ever played was it was in 4th grade at my friend's house. This is in the 70s. His older brother had built as a homemade computer. And we waited for half an hour for the game to load. And this was on not punch card, but punch tape. Okay. It was all text-based. And it was a Star Trek game where you had long-range scans, short-range scans. It was just a bunch of X's or asterisks in each sector. And it would tell you like the distance. It was cool. All right. Don't laugh at me. It was fun at the time. Okay. No CGI here. This is it. And it was
technically it's all CGI.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. But really poor CGI. We're not even talking 8-bit graphics. This is like 440 characters across the screen and everything like that. But so, yes, I have done gaming before in the past.
We won't be reviewing that one, just to let you know.
No. And I don't think, boy, that's a rabbit. That's a deep hole to dive into. Don't think so, but that is an interesting thing. If you join the Patreon and you make suggestions like that, we will seriously consider it.
Well, you'll see it.
I will seriously. Sorry.
I might be jumping.
My Patreon, not having anything to do with him.
I'll still play around with it.
Yeah, you play the games, and I'll sit there with the camera recording you. Watching the new Star Trek is self-harm. Definitely. Yeah. Okay. This kind of vitriol and level of cursing here on this channel is not allowed, Sam. I love your comment. So seems like
he's right.
Seems I'm the only one here that can tolerate Netflix. I'll probably be your link to the other world.
I mean, the only thing I find good on streaming services nowadays are the old stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He's the only one healthy here. Working out in the gym, dude. All right. More power to you. That's the way to go. Just tell me about it. I'll feel like I got a full workout and I'll go home and I'll take a shower and, it'll all be good. So, all right. Spoiler-free rating. Pros and cons. What would you? I'm going to go ahead and do a bunch of pros, and then you chime in on anything I missed. Does that sound fair? Okay.
Well, this is your live stream.
Well, I know. But still, I want to get your input.
I don't have to do the.
You don't have. Yeah. Okay. So pros. Thought-provoking. I think one of the strongest things about this movie, back to Nefarious, is that it's being thought-provoking is its greatest strength. It's not only on an intellectual level, but on an emotional level as well. If you let it, you'll feel the struggle, and it'll make you think. And this is what's good about talking to other people who don't know Christ, to say, hey, let's watch this together, right? There was this clip that was in the movie, and I'm not going to do this justice. Nefarious, or the doctor, James, looks over at Nefarious and said, I didn't know this was a fight. And Nefarious says, That's what you're losing.
It's always a fight.
It was
Always a fight with demon. Never a lull. Never. And do not give a quarter.
Nope.
No quarters.
Theologically accurate. Number 2. Good point. Number 2. Theologically accurate. I only found one point that I disagreed with that I thought disagreed with Scripture, and I won't cover this here. I might cover it later. This might be a point where different denominations, they would view this differently, and so I don't want this to be a point of division. I don't think this is not an essential Christian doctrine, but there was one thing that I would say, I'm not sure about that. But we'll cover that in the live stream.
Considering this entire movie is just packed full of theology and deep thoughts and concepts, that's actually kind of interesting that there's only one, and it's more of it's
said very fast and in passing, and I didn't catch it until I watched the movie the second time. Number 3, it kept my interest. This is a common thing that most people say in watching the movie. More than 9% of the movie is two guys talking to each other across the table. The intrigue and dialogue was so intense that not only kept my interest, it kept me hanging onto every word. And that might sound like an exaggeration, but I did not look at the clock once during this movie.
No, there's no.
I never thought when's it's going to end. The pacing was good. Even given that situation, because everything built on each other, and it was heading for a certain direction. Number 4, like I said, springboard for conversation. The goal of this channel is to engage with others, especially non-Christians, by using themes from movies and shows. This movie provides a rich ground for this type of discussion. We get to see the face of evil. Now, what are we going to do about it? Number 5, it's not preachy. Some critics have criticized this movie for being too preachy and heavy-handed. Would they say that about Avatar, The Last Airbender? That movie and the TV series, and I don't have an axe to grind against them, but it heavily draws from ideas from various Eastern philosophies and religions, especially Buddhism and Hinduism, with its reincarnation, monasticism, bending arts, animism, and chakras. Yet I have not heard one secular critic say that movie and series was preachy.
I think the movie was. I'm not sure about the series.
But I have not heard. Do you hear any critics?
Okay. No one criticizes
criticizes it for that.
From the official critics group.
In the movie Nefarious, the name God only appears 7 times. And the name of Jesus never appears. The demon only refers to Jesus with a derogatory title like the Carpenter. Why would someone feel that the movie was preachy? They would feel that way when it challenges them. The movie had some not so nice things to say about abortion, sex trafficking, and about other current popular secular agendas, which I won't go too deep into, but it definitely does have some negative things against that. And it was said in a way that the demon is happy these things are happening.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to challenge people that are out there. How in the world is this preachy? If you say that this one is preachy and it's not, then I want you to say the same thing about shows like Avatar, Last Airbender. Okay. What would you say? Positive things.
I probably have to watch this movie again.
Spoiler for you.
I would definitely. There's so much in it to unpack. It's the type of movie that you need to watch a couple times through in order to actually unpack everything that's in there. There's a lot that is just mentioned by the demon as passing things that I think are really intriguing that I would like to dig into more. There's sections that he mentions about his origin, where he comes from, all the ins and outs throughout history.
Oh, yeah.
Those things I find extremely interesting, and I would like to revisit those sections of the movie just to pull that out more, because, again, they do very good on the slight, just offhanded comments. that are natural for someone. If it was a demon who had been there throughout the entire time, would be saying, he says, "Oh, I've been at this a long time," as far as manipulating and deceiving people, and you're sitting there like, "Yeah, he has been."
Yeah, and it's not just said as a theological statement. These are written from said from experience. It's as if someone was actually there during that time. That gives you the creepy, chill up your spine moment when you hear that stuff like that. And the dialogue was rich and great. I'm going to check anything else you want to add.
No, I'd say that those are the main one other pro, I guess, would be that this is undoing something that the enemy has been trying to do for many, many years, which is definitely out here in the West, not so much in the East or in the African areas, trying to make demons just the commonplace thing. You got movies that demons are dealt with either as neutral entities or as sometimes even allies in some ways, or you can you can make barters with them and they'll respect you, or they're just not there and it's just all psychological stuff and there's nothing really to this.
Right.
Again, that is the enemy placing themselves in a very powerful position of being invisible.
Yeah. Yeah, the enemy can get us to believe that he's wearing red tights, pitchfork, and a pointy tail, and just making a bunch of jokes. We're not going to take it seriously, and he's going to have an advantage.
No, and this shows the enemy as plotting, cunning, and I think they do such a good job on just the hatred and the desire for humanity's downfall.
Oh yeah, the cruelty in this character,
and that is a demon whose their whole goal is our destruction. They want to see us suffer and our destruction because it hurts the one who loves us enough to sacrifice everything for.
That's right. If they can make God hurt by hurting us, it's like some guy breaks into your house and you go after him and he can't get at you, but your child's there, so he's going to do something to your child. It's that same type of idea. So Adam mentioned offended equals convicted. It has the possibility.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, because it's something that takes you out of your comfort zone. That's something that we need to examine in our own lives. Make sure that when someone says something, because it's just like if I confront someone about their sin, not in a way that I'm like bashing them over the head with it, but to say, hey, this is wrong. This is going to lead you to hell. I can think of quite a few of my videos that are online that are basically that, saying, hey, no, this is a sin. This is going to hurt you long term. Many have said that, well, it's offensive and it's, you're judging me. I'm like, no, I'm just letting you know of what the consequences are of your actions.
Sort of like people say, well, Jesus wouldn't do that. He talks about love. Well, Jesus talked to a woman at the well, and he said some things in love to her, but they were convicting. And this comment here from Adam says this is two sides, two different reactions to the same stimulus. You can either be offended or you can be convicted. You're shown something that makes you think, that makes you challenge the way you live, and you can go either way on that. And our hope is that people will be convicted and make a life change and point their life towards God, as opposed to somebody who's just going to say, and throw up a barrier against God and not want to hear anything more about it. And Threatened Sanity said, preaching. Preaching? What? Yes.
Now, I don't see this as being very preachy at all. In fact,
because we're not going to be offended. If anything, we're going to be confirmed.
Oh no, there's definitely sections in this I was laughing at.
Yeah,
I know it's supposed to be a horror film, but there are definitely sections that, because they got it so right, and I was just thinking, okay, knowing the enemy, this is what their reaction's going to be, and then immediately that's what they do in the movie, and I'm thinking, oh, that's funny that they got it so right, and the message is so on point. It's refreshing, it's enjoyable in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Adam also added, he says, the Holy Spirit was preaching to them. Yes, and this is not just to say us versus them. Sometimes I chafe, my flesh chafes against the conviction of the Holy Spirit. I don't want to, there are times I do not want to bow my knee before the cross. That is just fallen nature. I resist at times that. So we're all in that boat together. I want to take my life back. I want to grab it back from God and make my own decisions because I know what's best. No, that's every time I do that, the boat starts sinking. So let's not do that. Sam Rogers says we're in a battle against principalities. That's why Christian movies get called preachy. Well, you know what though? I will challenge you about that because I do believe. And I had an interview recently that's going to be coming out in March. In the interview, I was saying that and it was about me being a writer, that we do not, with Christian stories, novels, movies, and so forth, we got to be careful. There's a fine line to draw. If our audience is Christian audiences, we can do that. But here we have a philosophy, the gospel itself, pushing down the story. So that the story then becomes flat. It no longer has life of its own. That the gospel has pushed it down. That in every Christian movie or book, you have to have the Romans Road, or you have to have an altar call in, or you have to all these different elements have to be in there. And I challenge you to say, I don't think that's true. That we need material and books and entertainment where Christians are not the psycho guy that's the serial killer out there holding a Bible. That we need to have Christians that are the good people in the story that are naturally living their lives, and because they live their lives in that way, depending on God, things come, and as life comes, they handle it in a certain way. And I think we need to show that more and more and more. But a lot of what happens, I've had people tell me this in my writings too. It's like, it doesn't sound like a Christian book. You look at Lord of the Rings and you say, well, it's not Christian. Well, I think you probably...
I've had a lot of people tell me that Lord of the Rings is not a Christian.
Yeah, and that's it. Really is so subtle that's hard to see there. You look at like Chronicles of Narnia, you can definitely say that is. But here's the thing: we've got to be able to tell good stories without being preachy. Jesus, when having the Pharisees on one hand and the lost people that he was with, the sinners and the tax collectors he was with, that's when he's told his parables of the lost coin, the lost sheep, and the lost son, the prodigal son. And these are stories that you can listen to without feeling preached at or condemned. And if you want to draw close to God, you will see it. And that's the key here too.
And I think in this one and The Shift, both of those movies, I didn't feel preachy, and I didn't feel that the message overrode the story. In fact, you can even apply that to any message when you try to put it into a story and you force the message into a story. It kills the story. In both Nefarious and The Shift, the message merged with the story in such
it came out organically.
That it came out organically, and it did not feel forced in any way, shape, or form. Definitely, when we were looking at Hollywood and they're forcing a message down.
So here's we hate seeing what's happening with the woke philosophy being pushed down for two reasons. One is killing the story, and the second is it's antithetical, it's counter to God. It's antichrist theology that is being pushed down into it. So if you have that being forced, the movies there, the stories are being flattened. The same thing, we can make the same mistake. So that's why I said we got to be careful in doing that correctly. And we've got way off center on here, but this does have a lot to do with this story here because it doesn't have that in there. Wow. Okay, where are we? I think we're here. Emily Rose was called preachy, but I don't think so. Emily,
I do not remember. I don't know if I ever saw Emily Rose.
I'm not sure I know what that is. Adam mentioned good reminder, Sam, so easily to forget that it isn't just people and their feelings. And a couple more comments here. Emily Rose's exorcism. Oh.
Okay. That explains why.
Okay. Wonderful Life, Preachy? No. we did a review on That's a Wonderful Life, or It's a Wonderful Life too. Hacksaw Ridge is one of the best Christian movies. It showed a man living what he believed, and that's why people ended up following him. Cool. Cons. What spoiler-free cons? I have some negatives. One, about this movie, spoiler-free. It was intense. Now, that was a really good thing.
Negative. That's very safe, because that's why we are on the edge of our seat waiting for the next word to be said.
I know. Although I found the intensity, the very thing that gave this movie life and made it realistic. But the same level of intensity may be too much for some viewers. I've said this, I caution it, but I found that people that I thought would be too sensitive for this movie actually worked out okay. There are some really kind of violent scenes in here, but they were appropriate for the situation in the movie. And there are some really violent scenes in the Bible too. So one might say, without the redemption part, who should watch it? Now, is there a redemption part or not? I'm not going to say, because that'd be spoiler. But if there is no redemption in the movie and all you're showing is the threat and not showing the way out, then I would caution you to take a look at the story of Judas in the Bible. There you have a no way out situation. Now, it was couched within the crucifixion and everything else that was happening there too. But this is not a popcorn movie with a family. This is a thought-provoking movie that can be soul-searching and possibly life-changing. So, any negatives on your? That wasn't really a negative, but it just more of a caution. Any negatives on your side?
No, just that it is, just by its very nature, dealing with demonic forces. It is dark. Be aware of that. Be careful as far as that goes. Again, like you said before, make sure that you have Jesus to rely on.
Yep.
That's about it. If you go in and you're a strong Christian and you see this, there will be sections that you laugh at that might not be necessarily the appropriatest just by the movie standards, but you'll see a lot of the enemy's moves in it.
Yeah, understand his tactics. Trivia. Some scenes were shot in an active prison. Active meaning working, actual prisoners there and everything like that. This prison 30 years ago was, when it was an open yard prison, was the most violent prison and had the highest murders per capita in the United States. When the writers and directors asked if they could get into a prison, the warden told them it wouldn't happen, and it never did happen. The warden called for permission anyway, and they got permission. So it was a God thing. Did you have any negatives yourself on this?
No, not really. I thought this was extremely well done for the content that it offered. And again, that's a lot saying, because there's just so much theology that's packed into this. You do have to pay attention to every little thing. They really put every part of this movie is well put together. It is very good. Okay, so we're going to get into the spoiler section. But before we do, I'm going to ask you guys, we had a poll taken. I shared this poll. We had a poll taken. Am I showing it? There we go. All right. A poll taken, and the question was asked, do you believe in demonic possession? And we have, is it not quite up to 100? 50. Oh, we 91 say yes.
91% say yes. And
9 said no.
9 said no. There's if you get a chance, check out the poll. I'm not going to go reading through the comments, but some of the comments are really well said. So because we've already spent so much time on other things in here, but I just wanted to basically show you what the overall reaction was. When I first put this poll out, it was like 25 or 1/3 said no, they don't believe, and then that started to melt away as more people came in. I think it's just some early people said that, and I want to hear why. What is the reason why some people would say that it doesn't exist? And we're going to cover some of this again on Thursday. All right, we are getting into the spoiler section. So we have spoiler warning. If you have not seen this movie and you do not want to have any spoilers given, please go see the movie, come back, and watch us again. Pros on the spoiler-filled part.
Ugh. I mean, we mostly hit the pros that were there. Pro that's a bit more spoilery, I would have to say, and we didn't mention it yet, I think that they did a great job on the individual that is possessed.
Yeah.
As far as showing him again, from the Christian perspective, the individuals who are doing these crimes, who are doing the people themselves who are living in sin, are not our enemy. They are not who we're referring to in any way, shape, or form. As far as that goes, they are just hostages of the enemy used to hurt our Lord. That's it. They are just there for a purpose. And if the enemy, the actual true enemy, thinks that their purpose is fulfilled, they want to discard them in such a way that they suffer as much as possible. And they did a great job in this regard to that.
Gosh.
That
I felt so bad for the guy.
That comes straight out of that hideous strength. I mean, there are, I'd say, 2 parts in particular that's very obvious that the demon is just wanting this guy to suffer. First of all, the form of execution that he's requesting was the electric chair. And the reason why the demon said, well, it makes him suffer a lot more before entering into permanent damnation.
Yeah.
And he just wants him to suffer that little bit more before he gets to start playing with him in there.
Yeah.
Another one out of, I guess, again, out of C.S. Lewis's writings would be, he refers to him as a toy. You know, the father below gives, my master below. He refers to him as my master below. Is pretty generous in what toys he allows us to play with.
Yeah, just the anger. And there's one glimpse that's in there too. It says, the psychologist says, according to Christian theology, you guys are going to lose. And he says, oh, you don't know our side of the story. And he gives it, and the demon actually believes that he's going to win.
Well, even then, I say in general with the enemy, they know they're going to lose. They, in their heart of hearts, they know they're going to lose. They know it's already been written. They're going to lose, but they're going to take as many of us as possible with them, causing as much harm as possible. And that is their goal. Yes,
I agree that's their goal, but I don't know if we can really know what they believe other than they believe in God and they tremble. Other than that, Scripture really doesn't give us a whole lot of insight into what their mindset is. If they believe that they're going to win or not. They also obviously believe that they're going to win by killing Jesus on the cross.
That didn't work out so well for them.
No. And that is mentioned in the story. So I'm going to throw up another couple more comments in here.
I got one other point.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maddie said Hacksaw Ridge is one of the best Christian movies. Oh, I'm sorry. He already did that. Threatened Sandy said, I have a negative. We all know who will win. Yeah, it's a bit of a spoiler there, right? And Sam Rogers, in response to the poll, I suppose said demons are real. And Adam mentioned it is even possible that they underestimate God's power?
I don't know, because of what their nature is. I think they do in general, but they have been in God's presence. They have, because they are fallen angels. They have known that part of him. It's still,
I would say it's not so much underestimating God's power. I think it's overestimating their own, because pride was definitely the source of the enemy's fall. If you look at what Scripture says about Satan and his fall, pride was a thing. So over believing the hubris that's involved there, that they can actually dethrone God and take ownership of the universe, the multiverse, whatever is there, that God is over.
Real quick here, the final point I
yes,
wanted to get
I was going to segue into that.
Is so you had those two situations, and then there was a third one where it seems like such a simple thing, but yet it reminded me of the Screw Tape Letters, and coming right out of that is where they're talking about his last meal. And he's there. The host is actually speaking to the guard, and the guard comes in and says, "Hey, what do you want for your last meal? Remember, it's can only, you can't be over $25 and all these restrictions on it." He says, "I just want a bacon cheeseburger with, roast, well done, and a chocolate shake, thick chocolate shake."
Yeah, and he's so miserable when he says this. It's just,
please do not mess this up. This is really important to me. And I don't know if they're implying that this might be something that he had before, this little pleasure. Maybe in childhood, this was his favorite meal in childhood, or maybe a one-time special treat in childhood or something like that. But it's really implied that this is something emotionally desirable, that he just wants this pleasure. And the demon takes over and says, "You know what? I don't want anything. I'm fine." And the guy has no clue. In fact, later on, he comes back to his final meal and he's like, "Where's my meal? Where's my meal?" The guard looks at us. "You said you didn't want anything. You said you were fine."
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the demon even takes that little pleasure away at that point, because he's just completely within the demon's power. It's like they suck every pleasure out and replace it with nothing but suffering. And that is out of Screw Tape Letters, where you have Wormwood talking to Screw Tape, and he's mentioning about never letting them have even the simplest pleasure, mostly referring to, in that case, that they might see God in those simple pleasures. But at the same time, it is, as the demon in this one says over and over again, he loves the suffering.
Yeah.
He loves to see the pain. He loves to see the anguish. And you can definitely see it in those moments with the host.
So I'm going to throw up a couple more comments here. Adam said, "It's something I have wrestled with. They have seen him do all these wonders," talking about the enemy, seeing God do all these wonders. "Unfathomable to me that you could see God face to face and still rebel. Unreal." There's a bit of that with us too. I mean, how many times is us, even as Christians,
You can say that about Adam.
Adam too. Slip into sin. Now, granted, they see face to face. We don't. We see through a mirror dimly. But the bit we know about God, and still, have those moments of rebellion against Him. Thomas Hall mentioned, I forgot the psalm. "You demons think I, God, think like you do. My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways." Oh, I know what you're talking about. That was he addressing?
I don't know if he was addressing demons.
I don't know if he was addressing. I think it was human. But either way, yeah, his thoughts are higher than ours, and higher than demons too. Sam Rogers it's possible the demons believe in their head that they're going to win, but in their heart they know that they're going to lose. Could be. And one more comment, then we're going to move on. Their conscious minds think they're going to win. Their subconscious knows they're going to lose.
Sorry, speech to chat.
I have to add this one. Using speech. Are you working out? Sam is working. I think Sam is working out.
Sam's working out.
Focus on your workout. No, we want the comments. These are good. I'm glad you're putting these in. Even if speech to chat is not working for you, this adds comedy to it, so it's all good. All right, so I had a couple of pros here, and this, like you said, most of the pros and cons can be said in a spoiler-free setting, but there is this one scene comes in where you have the progressive clergy, and he's powerless. His name is Father Lewis.
That's such a good scene.
Nefarious, when the priest comes in, Nefarious jumps back, says, What do you want with me, son of God? Have you come here to torture me before the appointed time? Carpenters send you to gloat? And Father Lewis said, insanity has always been an issue here, hasn't it? Nefarious, huh? Personally, I've never met a demon. I've never been a part of an exorcism, nor do I expect to be. Many of the things that bother us are just our own fears and disordered thoughts. So you don't consider demonic possession a possibility? Our understanding has evolved beyond that. Well, I appreciate you telling me that. When the priest leaves, Nefarious turns to James and says, did you really think that poser could help you? So you see the switch. The progressive priest is not a Christian. He's completely vulnerable, and he's ignorant of what's really going on here. And the fear that the demon had was a lot like the fear of the demon. One of the demons, when Jesus was there, he says, what do you want with the Son of God? And what I laugh about that is like the demons don't even get the notice. Like their email system is down or something. Do they not realize that Jesus has been here for the last 30 some odd years? And they finally pop up. He's in synagogue and says, I know who you are. It's like, dude, did you just realize this? But that was good in revealing.
I think it was the entire, and this is just typical of the movie, I'd say, there's so many levels of thought that was put into this as far as the writing goes.
Yeah.
That it reveals a lot of stuff that the directors wanted to put together. You have the priest coming in. You got the absolute fear at the beginning. The demon does not know that this is not really a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
That it's only the facade of a Christian. It's only a poser in the end.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know that. He's not all knowing, even though he has a lot of insights into what's going on around. The statement of the priest there is odd in reaction to what the enemy is saying. Now, that could be an indication that the priest has its own demons who are whispering into his ears, as it would be shown in the Screwtape letters. And that's the written response that he's supposed to give.
Yeah.
And it is interesting at the end where the priest just absolutely basically runs away at the end.
So it flips.
It flips.
It was the demon who was afraid first, and at the end, you have the priest who's basically running out.
Who's running out, yeah. And there's
just giving platitudes and saying, oh, kind of work. It's all psychology. It is nothing. There's no spiritual forces here at work at all.
Even if you were just all psychology at the beginning, if you're at least aware enough, the priest would have been at least aware enough. Some of the things that the demon says as soon as you walk in should have been indications that something else was going on.
Yeah. Now, yeah. We got anything to it?
No, that was
okay.
It.
So there is a place for counseling and psychology and stuff like that. Although right now with the DSM-5 and everything has totally gone off the rails. But there is a place for that. But there's also still demonic forces that are involved too. There was that one line where he says that you guys there's so many great quotes. One was where Nefarious is saying he's going through all these things that they've done. He says, but here. What was it that they said you guys have done well yourself without me?
Oh, because I laughed at this one. Was hate speech. He was going through all the different things that have come out and how they've disguised themselves and how they've manipulated humanity.
How they're doing so well in history, how they're corrupting everything, and the
because the atheist is like, see, we're so progressive. We've done so many things.
Things are getting better.
Hatred is on the decline. We've got less racism. We have all these other things. And it's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
These things are all there. In fact, they're worse than ever. the only thing is you think you're doing good by it.
Yeah. And it says he lists all these things off, and he says, well, hate speech, I was on your own. You guys did great without us on that one.
I mean, we didn't even have to come up with that one. You guys did it on your own.
Some other good quotes were, I am the most rational being you'll ever meet. Talking to Nefarious. I know more theology than any human who ever existed. God made you in his image, but we remade you in ours. That's like bone chilling.
Was again, that's those little comments like that. I know more theology than any human alive, and it's like, yeah, you've been there.
That's right.
Lived there.
In Perilander, where he quotes Jesus last calling on God, my God, why are you forsaken from me? And he does it in Aramaic. And Ransom, the character in Perilander, realizes that the enemy is not quoting, but remembering the statements, as if he was standing at the foot of the cross, listening to Jesus say it himself. My favorite quote, and I won't do this justice. This is a scene where Dr. James Martin loses his temper and turns to leave. He reconsiders and returns to the table. James says, my decision, not yours, to return. And Edward says, whatever you say. Ready for round 2? James says, I didn't know this was a fight. That's why you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one of those like, ooh.
And in this movie, they hit so many topics, so many concepts. And again, the demon being proud of each one, they really paint it well. We had abortion was hit. A lot of the political stuff that we are now dealing with, how it is your will be, my will be done, not God's.
Yeah.
I'm living my life the way I want to.
And that's
like, yes.
That's been going so well.
The demon's reaction is yes. That's exactly, I love you.
Yeah.
I think I'm in love with you. At one point he says, and it's like, after making the similar statement like that, that's obviously been something that has been built up by the demonic forces in the culture in order to get this result. And he's just the demon is looking at the product of
all their work. Yeah.
And he's like, I love you.
I'm beginning to like you, James. So some more of the comments here. This has been great getting the back and forth with the comments. Make sure I am not repeating anything. There we go. Threatened Sandy said they want to harm. That's their basic principle, is harm no matter what. Yeah. God builds, they want to destroy. He gives life, they want to take it away. They want death. Sounds like some of Frank Peretti's writing as well. Yeah, I'd agree. Yes, right up that same alley. Adam said, I wonder if the priest was an example of a Christian with zero knowledge, making him spiritually impotent. He may be saved himself, but can't help anyone else. That could be. I don't know, though, with some of the indications of it, because you would still have that protection there. And it's very clear that he did not have any sort of actual protection. I don't know about that, because he went away in fear, and it wasn't like there was any demonic possession there with him as he left. So, I mean, that's God knows whether that person would be his or not. But yeah, very, very vulnerable state. You need to know what's going on there. And Sandy was, I'm so intrigued, guys. Thank you. Yes. So go see the movie. Now there's a con here. Do you have any more pros with this?
Go ahead with the con.
Okay. I got one, and this is kind of trivial. There's a couple of different things that are happening within the prison that would not happen. I can see that happening for the sake of writing. When Edward attacks James, the guards are standing back, and they don't do anything until he releases James. No, they would be on top of him. They would tackle him right off the bat. And also, at the climax, the police detective who came into the prison to witness the execution, apparently the one who had tracked Edward down, is allowed to bring in his loaded sidearm to the witness room. his gun.
No.
This is necessary for the plot, but Dr. Martin James was not even allowed to bring his cell phone into the prison. Maybe there was special compensation because he was a cop or something like that, but no. Prison firearms would have been collected from any armed visitor who went inside the prison.
Or even the security guard, whenever he was asked for a cell phone at one point, says we're not allowed to carry them. We're not allowed to have those even in here for the guards. So no, it was hard to take that one.
Yeah, it did work well with the plot, what was happening there. Now, speaking of the ending, this is another point of trivia. The producers left the ending open on purpose so it could be pursued with the sequel. Because you have that ending there with the homeless woman going through the trash saying, hello, James. It was left as an open sequel or as a series on a streaming service. And the producers said that they would show Nefarious popping up through history, like during the French Revolution and so on. And I thought that would be kind of interesting.
I would find that very... You guys know how much I love history, so I get that.
That would be fun. Now,
as long as they do it right.
One of the producers said that they have a potential name for this series. Touched by a Demon.
Ha, 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 ha.
I thought that was hilarious.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I got bad humor.
Yes.
Hey, Breakfast Gun joined us.
Okay, so great timing because we're just wrapping it up, but you can see the replay. Sounds like I'll make sure that they hit everything. Frank Brady. I wonder. Okay, we have this one. I'm so intrigued, guys. Thank you, man. I hit everything here. I thought we had some new stuff. When I watched Nefarious, I wasn't expecting a Christian movie. I was pleasantly surprised.
It's not marketed as a Christian movie. And I did not necessarily expect to see a Christian movie. When I first heard about it, when I planned on watching it, I did not expect to see this. In fact, my wife, Elle, was very hesitant on watching it because, she doesn't like horror films. But again, this is so good, but yet she does love the Screw Tape Letters and all that writing from C.S. Lewis. So... and she has a high praise for this.
I do want to caution, however, though, as much as it can be intriguing getting into the whole question of demonology and everything like that, when Jesus' disciples when he sent them out, when he sent out the 12, and they came back and they were excited. They said, even demons will listen to us. And he said, do not rejoice that the Spirit submits to you, but rejoice that your names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. They're written in heaven. So that here's the point. Our focus should be on God and Christ above, and not on the powers of darkness or even the darkness in the world itself. And this is one thing that actually helps defeat the enemy too, because as we focus on God and our praise goes to him, there is an aspect of heaven's glory opening up to us, which actually blinds the enemy. And hurts them. So that's a good thing too.
Yes, I would say that this movie is a tool. Use it responsibly.
It's like medicine.
Seriously, it is. It is a tool that can be very productive or very harmful, depending on how you use it. So,
one last shout out to mention about Patreon, and I need to get rid of. Sorry, get rid of this guy here. Mention of our Patreon page, which we have these videos and others. It's a great way to support this channel. And want to mention RPG Guy, our first sponsor on that. Yay! So we got him going on it. Coming up next Thursday, we're going to be talking about a deeper aspect with theology, looking at spiritual warfare, demons, the whole question of possession and everything like that. As human beings, we have the capacity for great evil done alone without external influence, or do we need Satan to push us along that path? We're going to look at possession versus harassment. Can Christians be demon possessed? We kind of already answered that. Is a demon possession something of the ancient past, or does it exist today? So all these are questions that we're going to be hitting on that. If you like this material, please like, subscribe, and share it.
It really helps when you get shared.
Yes,
It's
please.
critical.
It does bump up the algorithm and stuff like that. The comments here are great. Comments after it's posted are fantastic too. That all helps. We will look into what the Bible says about demon possession on Thursday, and next week look at the Screw Tape letters as a book review. And so until then, guys, hope you have the great next rest of your day.